Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Evans. Thank you, Charmaine, for saying that. Good morning. I'm Jennifer Evans. I'm President and CEO of United Arts of Central Florida, and on behalf of our board and staff, I want to welcome you to our first Community Impact Breakfast. Today, we are celebrating the community impact of our arts and cultural nonprofit sector right here in Central Florida. So thank you so much for starting your new year off with us today. First, let me thank the people who have helped make this morning possible. I hope you enjoyed the music this morning. I can't imagine having an arts event without our beautiful music. This wonderful group is the Aaron Inatelli Trio from HAPCO, which is one of our nonprofit partners who for 22 years have worked outside of the school system to improve the lives of young people through music, art, and education. So thank you so much. I hope the musicians, maybe they are still packing up, but are any of them here with HAPCO? Oh, good. Okay. Thank you so much for making that happen this morning. Of course, our friends here at the Loews Hotels at Universal Orlando, Diane Brady, worked hand in hand with our team. She's the area senior meeting and events manager. And of course, a huge arts champion, Barbara Bowden, who is the area managing director. And I know they're here. I don't know, I can't see you. Please stand up and be recognized. They're in the back corner. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'd also like to thank and recognize our presenting sponsors of OUC, The Reliable One, and Gunster, who is Florida's law firm and for business. I need to remember that I'm in charge of my slides. And, oh, wait, I can't pause. How to pause that? Woo, not ready for that one yet. All right, David, you're going to have to help me because I've got to back up now, don't I? All right, well, we have a special welcome from Congressman Frost this morning, who could not be with us, but he did want to send a message from Washington, and he is a great advocate for arts and culture in Washington, and you'll hear more about that.
Hello, everybody at United Arts. This is Congressman Maxwell Alejandro Frost, proudly representing Florida's 10th Congressional District in the United States Congress. And I just want to welcome you all to this morning's Community Impact Breakfast. The amazing work that United Arts does contributes to the culture of Central Florida and ensuring that arts are equitable and accessible to every single person, no matter who they are and no matter what zip code they're from. And this is very personal to me as a musician. My dad's a musician here, and we know that the life and blood of the Central Florida economy is through tourism, hospitality, entertainment, and the arts. So thank you so much for the work that you do, not only to contribute to the culture of our amazing region, but also the economy of it. And this is really important, especially at a time where our governor and the state are cracking down on funding for the arts. It's organizations like yours that work on combating that here locally. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and y'all have a great breakfast.
Yay! I know that we have some other elected officials who have been able to make it in person this morning. I want to recognize our Orange County Commissioner, Myra Uribe. Is Myra here? Welcome. Good morning. And we also have representatives from Representative Frost's office here, Sarah El-Badri. I apologize if I didn't get that right. Peggy Gustav. Is Peggy Gustav here as well? Thank you. And Jason Henry. I know I saw Jason earlier, so thank you. We also have Pamela Gould, who is the Orange County School Board member here this morning, and Alexander Smith, who's a commissioner for the city of Apopka. So welcome. Joseph McMullen, a commissioner of the town of Oakland, and Madison Wagner, who's the aide to Florida House of Representative Doug Bankson from Seminole and Orange counties, and Juan Carlos Almanar, who is aide to the state representative Rita Harris. So welcome our elected officials. And thank you for your public service. I would also like to ask our United Arts Board members who could join us today to please stand. They've got their name tags on. Please stand. And thank you so much. But I also want to recognize the other board members that are here representing other arts organizations. So if you're here representing one of our partners, please stand. I know we've got some other board members here. Thank you. Thank you so much. There are 600 volunteer board members serving in the arts in Central Florida, and we cannot be who we are today without the volunteer leadership of our boards. They provide resources, they leverage their social and professional capital as well as their skills, and we thank you so much for doing that because this is the time to be involved in the arts for sure. Leading our board of directors of United Arts is Linda Ferroni, and Linda is the Chief Customer and Marketing Officer for OUC, who is one of our sponsors for today. So please help me welcome Linda Ferroni to the stage.
Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome everybody. It's really nice to see such a filled room. We're so excited to share the information that we're going to be sharing today. But before that, we do have a few speakers. And, you know, I was reflecting on what I might share with you this morning, and I suspect that we have some things in common. Most people don't find your way to events like this. You aren't engaged in something like United Arts or one of our amazing arts organizations here if you don't have some passion or connection to the arts yourself. And, you know, I was reflecting back, I always have that kind of time over the holidays, to my start in the arts. And this is something that we share with new board members when they join United Arts too. We all share what our connection with the arts is. And I would ask you to do that. You know, stop for a moment and think back to your early days or whenever, you know, arts kind of hit you enough to make you passionate enough to be here. And, you know, for me, I grew up in a very small, humble kind of farming town, and there wasn't a lot going on, but there was arts and culture. Very different than what you might find here in Orlando, of course, but arts and culture was alive and thriving. And it was something that made our community a very strong, close-knit community. And I was lucky enough to be raised in a family that really enjoyed enjoying those arts. And so me and my siblings were all engaged in arts, and although I eventually followed a career more in sciences, I've never left arts behind. And I have raised my own kids to be in arts in our own way. And, you know, it's a very personal thing for people. But it is what led me to when I moved to Orlando 20 years ago and saw this thing called United Arts. What the heck is that? And I had an opportunity to get involved. I did. I didn't hesitate. I got involved. I've been on the boards of several of the other arts organizations here. And what a gift arts continues to be for me. You know, and so that is why I serve on the board. I believe that arts is a basic need for everyone of every age. And I believe that if we're going to keep these community gems shining, we all have to constantly polish them and feed them and do whatever it is we can do. Whatever gift or treasure we can bring, we all need to bring, or they can wither away. Happens quickly, and it's a sad sight to see. So we continue to find new gems and grow new gems, and that's why I'm here today, and I suspect it's why you're all here today too. So with that, I ask you to reflect on what brought you to the arts. Keep that alive in you. So I'm going to introduce our next speaker, the other sponsor of today, Nathan Hill, who is a shareholder and vice chair of the business litigation practice with Gunster. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Gunster, for sponsoring today. Nathan is a fellow United Arts board member with me, and he also represents United Arts, and I got to get every word here. The Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs Advisory Council. He's on multiple committees. He's a musician and an artist himself, but I'll let him tell you more about that.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be quick because I know I am not the reason you are here today. I just have to say on behalf of Gunster, we are very proud to be sponsoring this event. Gunster and its lawyers have supported arts and culture throughout the state of Florida since our founding 100 years ago this year. Because, of course, nothing says artistic excellence like a law firm. And Trudy would have been disappointed in me if I didn't make fun of lawyers at least once. So that was for you, Trudy. But of course, the reason that we're all here today is because we all know that to have a thriving business community, to have things to fight over, to then pay lawyers, and to have a thriving community as a whole, you have to have a thriving local arts scene. And so that's why we're here. So thank you all for coming, and I look forward to hearing from our next speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Linda. In the next 40 minutes, we are going to review the community impact of our arts and cultural sector, not only on the local economy, but on people's lives. So to get fired up about why this matters to all of us, please enjoy this video.
This is, for all intents and purposes, a rant on art.
Because like all great things, art is worth fighting for.
See, for over 45,000 years, we've had this burning desire to express ourselves, to leave our mark.
Art is this remarkable human ability to give things meaning. It's all the beauty and suffering, our victories and our failures. The arts connect us together. They help us imagine a brighter future.
And in 1989, we came together under this belief:
We must build a foundation that will build excellence in the arts.
that art and culture must thrive.
So here we are, 3 decades, 4 counties, 1 relentless dream later to make art in all its forms flourish in our community. But here's the thing about dreams. Without action, that's all they'll ever be. Just dreams.
There's a version of our future where art has died, where it's no longer taught in schools, where kids can't experience theater or creativity or inspiration. A future where we've forgotten the history that made us who we are.
Technology.
As Central Florida's local arts agency, we're here to make sure that never happens. We help art organizations serve more and do more.
We bring the arts to everyone. Our funding and support allows more museums, shows, and events to stay free or affordable.
We keep art in our classrooms, and we connect local artists to more opportunities.
We're the united voice for arts and culture, and we say we should be inspired by where we live. The work today paints a bolder tomorrow. Donate, join the community, and together we can make art thrive.
So today, we hope that we are going to provide you with the knowledge, with data, with information that inspires you to make your case for the arts. So many of you represent arts and cultural organizations. I'm going to ask you, as I talk about your organizations and your art form, to stand and be recognized. But we have just launched, or will launch next week, the Collaborative Campaign for the Arts. We've got to raise $6 million together. Sarah just told me, Sarah Babbage, the director of the Campaign for the Arts, said we're just about $50 from $2 million. So that's a great head start. I'm very excited. And I know for those of you that are part of the Collaborative Campaign, that's been a little rocky over the last months. We got a new website, and it's caused a lot of hiccups, but thank you for your patience, and we are now moving forward and can't wait to launch that on January the 18th at Portia South. So I hope that you all will plan to join us, and if you don't know about it, check out our website, because it's really an important time for all of us. And it's the only only collaborative campaign for the arts in the state of Florida, and we're inching up on being the second largest in the country, and we're going to surpass that this year. I'd like to be number one soon, because I know what that means, don't you, Tim? It makes a difference. Because we need the money. We have aspirations and dreams, don't we? And so that's very important. I want to go over some community impact that you have done together. And the next few slides that I'm going to share talk about the 52 partners in the organizations and the work that you have done together in the last year. So we've sorted these groups by the way the National Endowment for the Arts categorizes specific art forms. And the first art form is film, literacy, and humanities. And this group is made up of 6 nonprofits of Enzion, Global Peace Film Festival, Page 15, the Orlando Urban Film Festival, the Orlando International Film Festival, and Casa de Mexico de la Florida Central. These organizations together, 6 of them, developed and produced 1,274 programs, events, and performances in 2023. They created 73,326 experiences for the people living in our community and visiting our community, and they engaged 626 artists. They also did that in cross-sector collaborations with the Adult Literacy League, the Florida Farm Workers Association, the Center for Health and Well-Being, the Peace and Justice Institute, One Orlando Alliance, and the Interfaith Council of Central Florida. If you are here representing these 6 nonprofits, please stand and be recognized. Our next category are community arts education. Now, all of our nonprofits in the arts and cultural sector include education as a core function of their mission. But these organizations, their primary purpose is to educate. And that includes Artreach Orlando, the Leesburg Center for the Arts, the Mount Dora Center for the Arts, and Arching Oaks. United Arts invested $93,000 in these organizations to help fund their operations. They developed and produced 254 programs and events. They also provided 347,038 arts education experiences for people in our community, and they engaged 99 teaching artists. They are making arts education available to so many people, while at the same time, they partnered with the W.T. Bland Public Library, Beacon College, Warrior Path Veteran Support Group, the Japanese Consulate, the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, the Zebra Coalition, and the Quest Kids Academy. So if you're part of Artreach, Leesburg, Center for the Arts, Mount Dora, or Arching Oaks, please stand and be recognized. I think we had a couple folks from Lake County here this morning. When you think about these lists of cross-sector partnerships, the arts do not function without these incredible partners in our community that help us build audiences and reach new people, and most importantly, to provide access to the incredible creative products that you produce every day. So the next category is our museums and galleries. And this includes our Science Center and our History Center as well. These are 12 organizations, and United Arts invested last year $901,817 for these partners: the Alban Pulaski Museum and Sculpture Garden, the Art and History Museum of Maitland, the Downtown Arts District and City Arts, the Creole Day School of Art and Hannibal Square Heritage Center, Orlando Museum of Art, the Orange County Regional History Center, the Manello Museum of Art, the Holocaust Memorial Resource and Education Center, the Orlando Science Center, SNAP, with the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation, and the Goldsboro West Side Community Historical Association. These organizations developed and produced 17,453 programs, events, and performances, which provided 1,098,370 experiences for people. and engaged 153 artists in our community. While doing this work, they also engaged in cross-sector partnerships and collaborations to increase access and awareness of the arts for more people in non-traditional ways. And that includes the Lighthouse of Central Florida, Central Florida Zoo, the Downtown Development Board, the Zebra Coalition, the Black Architects in the Making, Seeds of Inclusion, Paramore and the Holden Heights Kids Zone, and the Tech Sassy Girls. So they're not only working in their own work every day, but they work alongside other partners in non-traditional ways. So please stand. I know there's a number of you representing our museum and galleries this morning, so please stand and be recognized. And finally, our performing arts organizations. This represents 29 nonprofits, including the Bach Festival Society, Bay Street Players, Blue Bamboo Center for the Arts, Central Florida Ballet, the Central Florida Community Arts, the Central Florida Vocal Arts, Creative City Project, the Florida Symphony Youth Orchestra, Garden Theater, Orlando Fringe Festival, the Opera Orlando, Orlando Ballet, Orlando Gay Chorus, the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, Chance to Dance, Emotions Dance, HABCO, the Howie Mansion Music Series, the Orlando Orlando Family Stage, the Orlando Shakespeare Theater, the Winter Park Playhouse, the Timucua Arts Foundation, the Orlando Community Arts, Descolonizarte Teatro, Fusion Fest, Open Scene, Escuela de Bamba, Ye Plena Tata Sepida. I've got to get this right. That's a lot for 8:30 in the morning. I apologize. So you want your name in lights and Teatro for the Soul. These groups represent all of the performing arts organizations. Last year, United Arts invested $2 million of our general operating dollars in 2023. These organizations together developed and produced 4,451 programs and events and performances, which resulted in 1,247,159 experiences for people and engaged 5,897 artists. They did this work while collaborating with cross-sector partnerships. And I also want you to know these are not all the collaborations. We pull a lot. Every organization collaborates, so we just put a summary of some of them together. The Florida Farm Workers, the Hope Community Center, the Coalition for the Homeless of Central Florida, the Central Florida Urban League, the Alzheimer's Dementia Resource Center, the Veteran Affairs of Lake Nona, and Lake Baldwin. So these organizations, if you're here representing the performing arts, please stand up and be recognized today. So what does it look like when 52 organizations work together to make something great happen every day for this community? Together, 23,423 programs, events, and performances. That is 65 a day. 65 a day. There's something to do in the arts 65 times a day here in Central Florida. That's amazing, right? It's exciting. This is a way for people to develop their own creative talents and skills, but also to celebrate and learn about the arts and diverse cultures that are represented in our community. This amounted to 2.7 million experiences for people and engaged 6,775 artists to thrive in our local community. When we work together and deliver this magnitude of arts experiences in our community, there is no doubt that we are improving lives and saving lives. But the arts aren't just about the quality of life, but it's a very important part of our economic community, of improving lives and saving lives, but also about the economic investment of public and private dollars. And so we are joined today by two very important guests from Americans for the Arts. First, and you'll hear from, if you go to a breakout session, Nina Zuli Tunjeli. She is the Chief Counsel of Government Affairs for Americans for the Arts and is also the Executive Director of the Arts Action Fund. We also have Randy Cohen visiting us, and he's going to be one of our speakers today. And Randy is the Vice President of Research for Americans for the Arts, which is our national advocacy organization for the arts in America. Since 1991, Randy has been empowering arts advocates with research. He has been called on to provide leadership and expertise in partnership with the White House, the U.S. Department of Justice, and has conducted convenings for arts policy and more throughout America. Randy is the 2024 recipient of the Sidney Yates Advocacy Award for Outstanding Advocacy on behalf of the performing arts in America. And is, yay, right? There are a lot of performing artists in the room. Also, his 10 Reasons to Support the Arts, which you have a summary of in your handout, that blog that he produces regularly also received the Gold Award from the Association of Media and Publishing, and his professional opinion and expertise is regularly sought after by the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, C-SPAN, CNN, CNBC, and NPR. Please give a warm welcome to Randy Cohen.
Good morning, everyone. What a treat it is to be with you. This native Floridian is so happy to be back in Florida. So I was born here, and thank you. It's great to be out of Washington, D.C., always, you know. So what incredible work. What a fabulous enumeration of all of your work in strengthening communities in here in our cities and towns and in the region. And that just actually extends across the whole state and this whole region of the country. And the numbers back that up. We've got an incredible story to tell today, and it's a story about the impact of your work. And we're going to change the conversation about the arts a little bit today, right? You know, they inspire us. They create the communities we want to live in and work in. Arts create more livable communities. But the fact is, we're a business. We're an industry. We support jobs. We generate government revenue. All that public sector investment comes back in multiple forms to our city, our county governments. So an incredible story. None of that story happens without you. And it's been a tough couple years for the arts. You know, the pandemic was brutal. I'm just so glad to see so many people here. Arts and culture, one of the most devastated industries as a result of the pandemic. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, the top economic shop on the planet, they did a big study looking at the impact of it. And I know you saw it a lot around here in terms of tourism and hospitality and hotels. All industries hit so hard, but they called out, look out below, the performing arts especially, really lost 3/4 of its business. 99% of organizations had to close, cancel productions. Johns Hopkins University actually tracks employment at all nonprofit organizations. It's about 1.5 million nonprofits in the country. Arts nonprofits lost jobs at 5 times the rate of all nonprofit organizations. It was rough, but that's why it gives me just such a good feeling to have you all here and still and persisting and doing the work. Not every number was down during the pandemic. There was one that was like crazy upward, and that was personal creation. People making the arts. I do a big national public opinion study every couple of years, did it last summer. 37% of the American population said, yeah, I tried some kind of new art, craft, music, culinary, art form. I know. All right, show of hands. Anybody try anything new? Because technically, all right, excellent. Lots of hands up. All right, this is a good, honest crowd. So a lot of times I'm like 37% and 2 people raise their hands. So I took up knitting. That was what I tried. So, well, actually what I did first is, did some of you read those articles by Amazon? Ukulele sales off the charts, you know, like, what's going on here? I tried it. I don't know. It's in the basement somewhere. But I'd always wanted to try knitting. And, my grandmother, my aunts, I always loved the clickety-clack of the needles. And I thought, I'd watched everything on Netflix and Hulu. I didn't want to get off the couch, but I knew I had to do something new. So I taught myself how to knit, ordered the supplies, got a little help from a neighbor. I'm not that good. I make the world's longest scarves, unravel them and do it again. But I got to tell you, it brought me so much peace and satisfaction and just centeredness, which is what the arts do, right? Arts, culture. And so, boy, I had that experience firsthand throughout the pandemic. So eventually, of course, it was time to come out of our house. Randy wants out. And I'm in the D.C. area. We've got all these wonderful museums. And so my wife and I are like, all right, let's try something this Saturday. And where should we go? And, well, now that I am a fiber artist, I thought, well, thank you for laughing. It's a laugh line. We've got a fabulous textile museum in Washington, D.C. I was like, well, let's try the textile museum. So what do we do? Well, we do what most people do. We went online and we found the textile museums on the website, and they were open, and here's their safety protocols. Wear a mask, keep your distance, and a little bit about some of the exhibitions that are happening. And like, this sounds great. Click the button, pulled out the credit card, bought our tickets. We were ready to go. So Saturday comes, jump in the car, we drive downtown, we park in the parking garage, give my $10 to the guy, get my stub, and on the way into the museum, though, what did we do first? We had a meal, right? Isn't that something? When we go into arts events or cultural events, you make it a big event out of it. There's a wonderful restaurant in the area there. It's called Founding Farmers. Seen a couple of heads nod. It's a great downtown restaurant there. So we went, it's like, hey, let's go out. We're going to have a nice meal first. Wasn't cheap. Spent $70. And, we took our time there, and then it was about a couple block walk over to the museum, showed our paper tickets that we printed out, got our program, walked in and walked around. And I could tell you my first sensory moment being in this museum that I hadn't been in before actually wasn't like a 1,000-year-old tapestry. It was the air conditioning, because this was August in Washington, D.C. Brutal, right? So anyway, we had a lovely afternoon there in the museum, joined, come back a number of times. So think of all the industries, though, that were touched just by this one Saturday afternoon visit to a local museum. Well, it started, earlier in the week when we went online and we checked out the museum's website. Arts organizations, we've all got websites. That means we've got web designers and computer programmers and photographers and writers. So all of a sudden now we're touching all the technology industries. We bought our tickets online. So now you got the finance and the e-commerce people involved. They're seeing a little bit of that benefit. We drove downtown a parking garage. I could tell you during the week, you can't even get a space in that garage. On the weekend, if it wasn't for the arts organizations in that area, it's not even open. They're what populate that garage. The $10 and the stub, that I got from the attendant, that is a job. Somebody owns and manages that parking garage. Those are companies and businesses. And then when we went out to lunch at Founding Farmers, it's one of the farm to fork places, right? Everything's grown within 50 miles. Some of those $70 are going to the local growers and producers of the food. The waiter who waited on us, that's personal income. The owners of the restaurant, that's entrepreneurial income. So there's all of that economic activity. And only now are we finally actually getting to the arts event part of the story here. It's a beautiful building, modern architecture. We went in, and you ever notice when you go to an arts event, even today, you're always getting paper. It's a program, it's a flyer, it's a postcard. There is a writer in the community that's paid to write that content. There's a graphic artist that's doing the design work. Printing, those 2.8 million experiences, most of those came with a piece of paper or a program. Printers make bank off of the arts. We spend all these industries that we touch. And then most people, when they see the curator, we got a little lecture, we saw a demonstration, look at the some quilt exhibits. That's maybe when people might think about arts as an industry. They see the musicians, they see the actors or the designers. But the fact is, our work touches industries across the community. That museum, can you imagine what their utility bill is in the summer? Keeping that place cool in the summer, keeping it warm in January. Arts organizations pay utility bills. They employ a whole range of industries. And so that's the story we're trying to tell today about the economic impact of the arts. And if we want to talk about community benefit and funding the arts, the fact is so many decision makers in our communities, if you ask them what their 3 priorities are, they'll tell you jobs, jobs, and jobs. So we're going to connect our arts and culture product to their priorities. And so that's what we're doing with arts and economic prosperity. All right, so let's see. Click. We're going to talk about Orange County. Arts and Economic Prosperity 6. United Arts, Orange County, the Central Florida region, been a partner on this study with us for about 2 decades. So thank you all being part of this study. It's a national study. 373 study regions across all 50 states plus Puerto Rico. We study communities as small as 4,000 people, as large as 4 million people. You know what? It doesn't matter if you're in a small rural community, a large urban city. If the arts are happening there, economic impact is happening there as well. And so I'm going to start talking today about Orange County. Everybody catch that technical effect? That was all me. Oops, ladies and gentlemen. So, so you can see all the different geographic regions that were part of this. Just a little bit about this study. We focus on nonprofit arts and culture. Now, he does the quotation, air quotes thing, nonprofit arts and culture organizations. That also might include a municipally owned, a city-owned performing arts center, a city-owned museum. It might be a program at a library. Actually, Jennifer, you talked about all those fabulous partners, social service organizations, fraternal organizations. In different communities, in different parts of our communities, arts the public connects to artists in a lot of different ways. But so that's what we focused on. What we didn't include is Hollywood motion pictures. We didn't include individual artists. We didn't include publishing or architecture businesses. All vitally important to our cultural ecology, just not part of this study. Why do we limit that? Well, typically when government or private sector is funding the arts, investing in the arts, those are the organizations where the dollars are going to. And it's an appropriate question to ask. What's the public getting? What's the ROI on that investment? Everybody gets cultural benefits, but now we can show economic benefits, that jobs question, that government income question. We take a really conservative approach to economic impact, and United Arts did an incredible job on this, and thank you all for being part of that as well. Surveyed several hundred organizations. We heard back from 95 of them. That's what we go with. We only use data from the organizations that provide it. We don't make estimates for non-respondents. So every dollar I talk about up there today, you can put your hand all over it. That's the organizational spending, but what about that audience spending, that real value add? 1,475 audience intercept surveys across the county asking people, how much did you spend? So my meal, my parking, all of that type of thing. So, which is a huge oversample, by the way. That's like way more surveys than we asked for, so thank you. So really great data. And then lastly, I work with a team of economists, and we use an Implant economic impact platform. Highly reliable. It's used by 1,000 cities, and universities and governments across the country. So really reliable results. All right, so what do we find? Well, the first thing we looked at is total economic activity. How much money are we actually talking about? $264.9 million of economic activity. And I'm going to start just with the Orange County numbers. And this is 2022. Coming out of the recession, look at that, $264.9 million. Now that figure is composed of 2 numbers. First, spending by the organizations, $151.8 million. That's the number on the left. That right there is a myth buster. Most people don't think about the arts as businesses. And let's face it, it's not an intuitive way to think about the arts. When I get home this weekend, I'll go out to an arts event with my wife. We'll do, gonna see some theater. We're not going because it's good for the economy. But the fact is, it is, so arts organizations are businesses. They employ people locally. They purchase goods and services from other businesses. They're members of the Chamber of Commerce. They're involved in the marketing and promotion of this region. Arts organizations are good business citizens, and that right there is a story to tell. Now, every business has an economic impact. The dog catcher's office, a gas station, anytime a dollar changes hands, an economist can measure that. But few industries generate that event-related spending, right? You know, the meals, the parking, lodging, and that's that audience spending there, $113.1 million, and that's something that the arts bring. So what's the economic impact of $264.9 million? Well, the first thing we look at is jobs, 4,943 jobs across Orange County. Now remember, these aren't just arts jobs. Arts organizations, yes, they employ curators and musicians, but they also employ accountants and auditors and security staff and marketing people and electricians and plumbers. They employ people across the community. And then this also includes the hospitality spending, right? That $113 million in audience spending as well. Arts, not just food for the soul, putting food on the table, right, for 4,943 households right here in the county. And a little something else about arts jobs, these are not the kind of jobs that are going to be offshored. These are necessarily local jobs. So very, very strong number. What else do we look at? Well, we look at government revenue, $50.3 million in local, state, and federal government revenue. You look at the collective outlay by governments at all levels. The revenue coming back always comes back in multiples. Small investment, big returns. And what this tells us is that when we support the arts, we're not investing in a frill or an extra, but it's an industry. It's not dollars going down some black hole of goodness, right? You know, it's coming back, cultural, economic benefits. All right. Let's sort of break this down a little bit because this is where it gets interesting, right? The audience spending. The typical attendee to an arts and culture event here in Orange County spends $44.60 per person per event, not including the cost of admission. And you can see there's none of those pieces of the pie have admission on them. And, you know, there's my, meal and parking, and so you might be looking at lodging. Wow, can you still get a room for $5.50 here? You know, and would you want to if you could get it? No, you wouldn't. Not everybody has a lodging cost. We'll hit that number real quick. Other is always fascinating. Nationally, we did 224,000 audience surveys. One of my favorite ones was from a farmer in Wisconsin who paid somebody $60 to milk his cows so he could go to the theater that night. Isn't that great? People are doing what it takes to get to the arts. Of course, now I'll have to add dairy to the next survey. But anyway, in addition to how much did you spend related to this arts event, we also asked folks for their zip code, because we want to find out, do they live in Orange County? Are they local? Are they from outside the county? 42% of attendees are from outside Orange County. And do they spend differently? You bet they do. $7.30 per person per event, not including the cost of admission. We asked those folks another question, because we're just that annoying, which was, why are you here? We're glad you're here. Thank you for coming. Are you here on business? Are you here visiting friends or family? 82% said, we came specifically for this arts event. Isn't that interesting? So you could really see the pulling power of the arts. And then we asked the local counterparts, people who do live in the county, what if this arts event wasn't taking place? Would you have stayed home, done something else? We gave them a list of options. 60%, more than half, said we travel to a different community to attend a similar kind of arts event. So when we support the arts, we're not investing in some frill or an extra. It's an industry that's drawing people to the community, and those people are spending money. All right, so 42% of attendees from outside the county, 11% of those folks had an overnight lodging cost. They average $216 per person per event, not including admission. So you get that head in the bed, right? You know, that's when the cash registers really start ringing. Heads in beds, cheeks in seats, derrieres and cafe chairs. Arts and culture organizations are good for local businesses. If you're a local business, doesn't matter what kind of industry you're in, this is a good news story for you. Okay, I gave you the county numbers. We actually did a lot of work here in Florida, and even I was in with the folks in Winter Park last month. We've got City of Orlando data. All of these reports, and they're 58-page reports, are on the United Arts website, so you can read all about the data. But Orlando, about $191 million in economic activity. Orange Park was Winter Park, $44 million. So we did several communities within the county as well. I just want you to know all that's available. And then we did statewide, $5.8 billion nonprofit arts and culture industry statewide, 91,000 jobs. So a lot of really powerful data that's to work with here. All right. The economic numbers are amazing. We also talked about community impact, right? And so what's the flip side of some of that? For the first time, we asked some social impact questions of the arts because we want to, find out what do the arts mean to the community. And these numbers are amazing. They're larger than the national averages. Over 80% of the attendees at Orange County Arts events says the arts are a source of pride and community identity. Similar percentages, I'd feel a sense of loss if arts and culture organizations and events, these venues, were no longer available. And I think one of the most powerful ones there at the bottom, 89%, it's important to me that this venue, this arts event, be available for future generations. And what I think that says is arts aren't like these one-time transactional moments, but rather they really are part of our history and our heritage of our community, where we've been, where we're going. And that's also what the arts bring to our community. So we're in Washington, D.C., and, that's the land of national organizations. There's so many national organizations in Washington, D.C. There's a national organization for the national organizations. But you can actually make this work for you because you see up there the U.S. Conference of Mayors. That's where the nation's big city mayors all go to, or the National Association of Counties. That's where elected county leaders, that's their organization. Or, maybe Race Forward, community organizations, independent sector, nonprofit. If you're a business leader, you pay attention to what the conference board is doing. All of these organizations partners on your study, and when you download it from the United Arts website, just go to the back. They're right there. Their names, their logos on your report because they too believe arts and culture, fundamental part of a healthy community, and they buy into the methodology and they buy into the results. Trust me, if they thought this thing was going to stink down the road, they're going to get nowhere near it. So you can feel very confident talking to your community, your business, your elected leaders about this study. So I want to now sort of widen the circle just a little bit. So we've been focusing on nonprofit arts and culture, right? And, and their audiences. But we know that is just a part of the overall cultural and arts business ecology. There's another study that's done every year by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, again, top economic shop on the planet, which looks not just at nonprofit, but all the arts, commercial, for-profit, individual artists, university drama departments, gig workers, import, export. Nationally in 2021, they put arts industry in the United States as a $1.02 trillion industry, trillion with a T, 4.4% of the nation's economy. And so it's a massive industry when you include architecture and publishing and design. But now they actually drill down to state level as well. So we can tell a story right here in Florida. So next time you talk to your state legislators and you go to Tallahassee and, be that red hot firebrand advocate for the arts, and somebody says, oh, you know what, we got to focus on big business and everything. Statewide, $39 billion industry. 3.1% of the state's economy, 245,000 jobs. That's all of the arts, and that is a major industry statewide. So we've got a local story, we've got a statewide story as well. And a couple of contexts. That $39 billion, that's bigger than transportation. That's bigger than education. That's bigger than agriculture in the state of Florida. Really powerful, powerful research. And I'll tell you one other thing the economists have figured out. When arts jobs grow, all employment grows. increase the growth in arts jobs because how they diversify the economy, and there's a causal relationship to overall employment. So if you care about jobs, invest in the arts, keep our organizations going, because it's going to be good for employment across the community, across the state. Now, the Bureau of Economic Analysis doesn't get into this. They don't study all the industries out there. Why actually did they do that study? Because in a global economy, innovation is how you prosper. And how do you innovate? Well, you create. And how do you create? Well, that's arts and culture, right? Driving creativity. And so that's why the BEA does this research. But they're not the only ones. I mentioned, I just call out this report real quick, because that's done by the Conference Board. The Conference Board, that's the national organization for the Fortune 1000 companies in this country. If you're a business leader, you look to see what business scholars at the Conference Board are writing for business leaders. Their research shows creativity now among the top 5 applied skills that business leaders are looking for. In fact, it's leapfrog the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Of course, you got to be able to read, write, and do math. But if you could take some creativity and apply that to your scientific, your engineering, your coding knowledge, those are the high-paying jobs we're all trying to attract to our communities. 72% of business leaders say creativity is of high importance. 85% of those folks say we're struggling to find the people we're looking for. So, there's no typing test for creativity, right? And so they ask these business leaders, well, how do you know if you got a creative worker, across the table? 2 indicators way at the top: starting your own company, entrepreneurial activity, and 2, study of the arts and arts engagement, especially while in college. And they write in the conclusion of the report, it's clear that the arts, music, drawing, drama, dance, literature, media, provides skills sought by employers of the 3rd millennium. There's such a shift happening now in workforce. Workers these days in the creative economy, they're picking where they want to go. And so everyone's trying to attract them. And I tell you, I go to big cities, Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, where I've heard things like our number 1 export is highly educated young people. And so they're all like, wait, don't leave. We loved you. We raised you. We educated you. How do we keep you here? And the message globally has been the same. You want me to be creative and innovative in the workplace? I'm a creative and innovative person in my life. I want arts, culture, arts maker spaces, the work we do. Again, one more way that the arts are strengthening our economy right here. And this is just back to the public opinion study, which I think is interesting. 55% of the American workforce says creativity is part of their job. 60% say the more creative I am in the workplace, the more successful I am in the workplace. So some really important data, and we're going to hear from Tim here about the importance of arts and to local businesses. So let me just wrap up here. What you're looking at is a picture from the Louvre in Paris, 1913. Bad news, the Mona Lisa got stolen. It took them 2 years to get it back. And those are the hooks where the painting had been hanging. In the 2 years the Mona Lisa was missing, more people went to see where the painting had been hanging, you know where this is going, than saw the painting itself in the previous 14 years. It's so easy to take arts and culture for granted, to assume our work is always going to be there, but we've all got a job to do, to make sure the arts are thriving. We've got great examples of sponsorship right here and on the board of United Arts. Businesses can support the arts. We need local government and state government to fund the arts. When you hear somebody say, when times are good, we can afford the arts, but not when the economy is struggling. No, we need to invest in the arts at all the time, and we have the data. Volunteer, you heard of the Incredibles, 600 volunteers, just board members, part of thousands of people who volunteer. Another way we could support the arts. And then just attend. Be one of those 2.9 million, 8 million people. Next year, maybe let's make it 3 million. Go to the arts, vote with your feet. Everything you do to advance the arts is important. Tell your story, talk about the economic benefits, talk about the social benefits, tell your personal story too, how the arts touched you. I love Linda. What do the arts mean to me personally? Everything you do is important to advance the arts, and you're important for doing it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Randy. And I do want you to know we have some breakout sessions after this, so to learn how to actually use this information to make your case for those of you that are on boards of arts organizations or on the staff. You also have in your handout more information that Randy has shared. But now it is my privilege to introduce the president and CEO of the National Chamber of the Year, the Orlando Economic Partnerships leader, Tim Giuliani.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be in a room where you know so many people. Randy, I'll pick up before I begin on the personal connection. So the little secret in this room is most years on Christmas Eve, instead of going to church, we actually go to the Shakespeare Theater and see A Christmas Carol. It has a similar effect, I feel, right? And then, the interconnectivity of arts and the economy, I want to talk about that, but one kind of funny example is that Jennifer's son actually interned with us doing economic research, right? So maybe future he'll work with you. So he came to us. Meanwhile, my kids are, one was Troy Bolton last year in the school play. This year, our youngest daughter, who's super shy, is Hortensia in Matilda Jr. So Jennifer and I have a little bit of interchange here between economics and the arts, and it is all based on creativity. I completely agree. And in my role, so we talk to a lot of companies that are considering where to expand their business or relocate their business sometimes. And they're always trying to put their finger. They'll visit our community, or even if they're here, they'll take tours. And they're trying to put their finger on what it is that this community may have that community doesn't have, and trying to make a decision. And so what is the answer to that question? We have rapid growth here in Central Florida. We have an extremely deep talent pool. In fact, beyond the talent pool, we have 500,000 college students within a 100-mile radius. There's not another city in the Southeast that can say that, and only a couple in the country. And then we all know that Orlando is unbelievably real, and how do we paint that with vibrant colors? So in putting our finger on the pulse, we know that our theme parks, our tourism industry are international powerhouses. We all know that. Our history and our depth of expertise goes back generations in defense technology that helped put man on the moon and continues to fuel today's commercial space industry. Our region is home to one of the largest, if not the largest, research universities in the nation. And we have our natural resources, our kind of exploding food scene, endless shopping and entertainment options that create a great quality of life for us. And the answer to that question, I think, lies a little bit below the surface. It really comes from the beating heart of our arts and culture community. We see a little bit different picture. We see the arts as the very foundation of innovation, inspiration, and economic vitality. When you talk to companies, it's really the collision between arts and entertainment, our roots in defense, that have transformed our economy from cattle and citrus to the epicenter for roller coasters and rockets, simulators, and driverless cars. So what attracts the brightest minds, the most creative entrepreneurs, and the tech giants of tomorrow? We can assure you it's just not sunshine and lack of taxes. Today's a good example of that, I guess. It's really that vibrant cultural tapestry that we have, where we have galleries abuzz. We have one of the most acoustically perfect theaters, for example, and they overflow with imagination. We get our kids there as many times as we can. It's the magic of storytelling. It's the power of music. It's the audacity of dance, and it's all woven into our region's DNA. And I'm not going to repeat Randy's information, but the numbers speak for themselves. The jobs, the spending, in addition, the income to residents that work in the arts, and of course, the local taxes. And all of this sounds so familiar to me because it's the same way we talk about economic development. In many ways, it's the same way we go about economic development. We know the success, whether it's in economic development or the arts, is not possible without buy-in and collaboration across the region. There's a lot of nonprofits in the room. Jennifer introduced a number of local government officials, even members of Congress, and they all have a shared stake in our economy. And we're proud to work as one of those partners in the region. Since its inception 7 years ago, we've had the pleasure of working with 185 projects that either expanded or relocated to Central Florida. That's about 25,000 new jobs. It's about $3.1 billion in economic impact. And I'll dive a little bit into an example. It's companies like Falcons Beyond. Who's heard of Falcons Beyond in the room? Okay, there's your 2 or 3 hands that you were talking about earlier. So it's an innovative tech company that brings stories to life through theme parks, animation, gaming, movies, and more. They're led by Simon Phillips of Marvel fame and have grown into a global brand after being founded here in Orlando. Or take View Orlando, home to one of the largest permanent LED volumes in the US with a 26-foot wall. It's a 155-foot long screen. They specialize in virtual production, and their technology has been used in productions including The Mandalorian and the Batman movie. So creating an environment where these companies can grow requires, obviously, a vibrant arts community. They generate millions of dollars in economic activity, as we've talked about today, thousands of jobs, and boost tourism revenue that goes beyond the theme parks. We also know the arts contribute to higher graduation rates, it lowers crime rates, and a stronger sense of the community. So I'm hoping to dive, this is diving into that secret sauce and illuminating what it is about Central Florida that's so important for us to grow and to preserve. Without that, I doubt we'd be #1 in the nation for job growth. We wouldn't have the highest GDP growth rate in the state and the second highest GDP growth rate in the nation. We wouldn't be considered the #1 best place in the nation to start a new business, or, there's a stat for everything, the #2 most fun city in America. We can thank Wallet Hub for that. So it's not just about the big picture that we're talking about. It's also about individually and individual lives that are touched. It's about that young artist that's finding their voice. It's the veteran dancer that's defying gravity, the playwright that's sharing the unspoken stories of our city. And these are the threads that come to bind us together. They showcase, to me, an unwavering support of creativity and collaboration that our region is known for around the world. And it's so many examples. There's projection mapping that animates our city in Creative Village with glimpses of our futures and past. It's the mural that we put downtown that brings to life all of what makes our regional transformational and groundbreaking. It's now traveling across the state on Brightline. I'll finish in a second. But I want, to our friends here at United Arts, I want everyone to understand to us how important a role we think you play. We know that you're the champions, the advocates, and the tireless supporters of this vital ecosystem. And you're the bridge between what starts as an artist's passion and what becomes an entrepreneur's vision. You're the ones who make the magic of the arts accessible to everyone. I'm here to encourage you to continue on your path, to invest more going forward, to raise your voice in support of the arts, and to invest in our future. We want to obviously work together not only to sustain the arts, but to unleash their full potential. We're on a mission to make Orlando not only a great place to visit, but a place where creativity takes flight, where these growing entrepreneurial companies want to be, where their dreams will take center stage, and where the art of innovation becomes the engine of our shared success. So together, we're hoping to embrace art and the innovation it brings to show the world why the arts make Orlando unbelievably real. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim. Really, really appreciate having that exclamation point on the arts power from you. That's wonderful to hear. I want to say thank you. I'm Trudy Wild from United Arts. I've had the pleasure of working with this group for 25 years. And as a leader in this, thank you. I don't say it for that reason. I say it to help you understand how thoroughly I know this community and how much each of you brings to this. So I wanted to say thank you, not only to Tim, not only to our leadership, not only to Randy and Nina, who've made this trip down from Washington, but to each of you who helped with this study. Your work on presenting your organizational expenditures, on collecting audience surveys in the field, as difficult as that is at your events to try and do that, we captured enough data to bring some really powerful information. And that information is something I want you to use as you move forward every day for the next 5 years until we do the study again, or until we have more numbers to extrapolate on that. So there's a tool that we have provided with this study, as United Arts has a economic impact calculator. Some of you do use this, and we know from, for instance, the Science Center has told us that they use this information when they prepared and received their largest grant to date. This information is really powerful, and you heard just the tip of the iceberg from what Randy shared in the studies. We do have the huge 50-some page reports. We have a boiled-down 2-page version, and Laura is helping us prepare one-sheets that have the really, the quick detail capture. We want you to share that out. In order to do that, if you can stay, we have now 2 breakout sessions. After a brief break so that you can refresh and come back here, we have a couple more handouts. We have a first session from Randy, who's going to be talking about claiming your impact. This first one was about celebrating. Now it's going to be about claiming. How do you use this information and move it forward? And Nina is then going to follow with a piece of that also, but more focused on advocacy. So how do you, again, use this to get the money that you're looking for and make your case and do not only the heartfelt, beautiful performances and visuals that you present, but to say it in nuts and bolts that funders will understand. So thank you very much for all of you. I think I called out Luke. If I didn't, I apologize. Luke, I wanted to say thank you for being the coordinator on this 1.5-year-long project. And David Baer, who talk about details, he is a forensic scientist in his past life. He helped us as a volunteer to look up all of the emails and data that we needed to get this done. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and I hope you'll stay for the next sessions. Take care.